show. So that's 10 years since Vanessa Sanchez right here started this company. Yeah, amazing. And now we're here to perform for you. So here's Vanessa with some more hip-hop.
Yeah. Hello everyone, how are we doing? Good. Happy Monday. It's Monday, right? I lose track of days, you guys. We're super excited to be here. Thank you, Cindy, for coordinating, and my mama, Mary Sanchez, for inviting us. We're really excited to perform and share with you what La Mezcla does. La Mezcla, as Sophia mentioned, is a dance and music company based out of San Francisco. And we use traditions of percussive dance forms, specifically tap dance. Son Jarocho from Veracruz, Mexico, which we'll show you a little bit more of this. We really want to invite you to participate. We want to hear you clap. We want to hear you sing. If you want to get up and dance around, please do. Yes, don't be shy. We're all dancers and musicians today, so don't be shy. We are joined by our amazing musician Tanya, who you'll hear from in a minute. And today we're going to show you some traditions of Son Jarocho and tap dance and talk about the similarities and differences in each of them. So for our first piece, we are going to travel to the state of Veracruz in Mexico. Can everyone say Veracruz? And we are going to do a traditional song from the tradition of Son Jarocho. Can everyone say Son Jarocho? Which comes from the Sotavento region of Veracruz. And this particular song requires everyone to participate, all right? So we're going to need you all to help us out. This song is called La Guacamaya. Can you say La Guacamaya? La Guacamaya. Does anyone know what that means? No. La Guacamaya is a macaw. It's a bird, right? It's a beautiful, colorful parrot, macaw in English, that in southern Veracruz flies freely. And in recent years has become endangered. And so this song, La Guacamaya, has a chorus. Can you sing the chorus for us, Tanya?
Yeah, so I'll start off the coro by saying vuela, 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 and then you guys respond back by saying vuela. And you guys are welcome to fly in your seats or like around the dining hall, whatever like moves you at the moment. You just do what feels right. Yeah.
Can we practice that? So when you hear Tanya sing vuela, 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 which means fly, 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 you have to spread your wings. And after Tanya finishes saying vuela, 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 we say vuela in response while we're flying. Let's try.
Yeah.
Let's try.
So I say, ay vuela, 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 vuela. Como yo volaba cuando me llevaban preso, cuando preso me llevaban, vuela, vuela, vuela. Vuela. Vuela para la playa, un día nos encontraremos cantando la guacamaya.
And then you can put your wings down.
Let's start just singing out. We're hanging out at that moment.
Yeah. Are we ready?
But you're so ready for the looks.
All right. You guys have your part. You're listening for what? Vuela. Vuela, vuela, vuela. What does that mean? Fly. 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 Yes. And you don't forget. Warm your shoulders. Warm those joints. You're going to have to keep flying for a while.
Vuela is going to be your vocab word of the day. We'll ask you what it is later, okay? Por el aire da una flor, destellando sus colores, destellando sus colores. jarocho. Can we try saying that together? Son jarocho. So the jarochos are what we would call people from the state of Veracruz in Mexico. And these sones are surrounding the community. All music forms anywhere in the world starts with community, the people that you're living with, right? And you guys have such a lovely community here, I have to say. So, yeah, of course. In the Veracruz communities, we have jam parties called fandangos. Can we say fandango? It's not the movie ticket website. So, a fandango is exactly that. We bring tarimas, wooden platforms, that we play percussively with our feet, and we have musicians surrounding them. They're holding down the beat with their strumming patterns on the jarana, or with their voice and their poetry, or with a requinto, which holds down the melody, or a leona, which is like a bass instrument, if you want to think of it like that. So the jarana has an interesting job. So they are in charge of keeping the dancers in check with the speed. If they're like, ooh, you're dancing too fast, then they're like, bring it down, and they start slowing down with the jarana. They also have an important job in terms of the poetry, the lyrics that you're hearing. The idea is that a long time ago, when this tradition started, like hundreds of years ago, people would improvise the poetry that you would hear. Right now, a lot of people are like, let me write my own verses and just memorize them. But before, people would just do it on the spot, and they'd be trading licks like that. And the idea is that you want to be able to hear what they're saying so you can appreciate it. So the jaranas have the job of lowering the volume so that everyone can hear what's happening. And that way the dancers get the cue to also lower the volume on the tarima to see what's up on that sense too. And then the other job that the jarana has, I have one that's called a tercerola, it's as big as they come, is they support whatever patterns are happening on the tarima. So they could be doing something with their feet like cafe, cafe, cafe. Can we try that together with our hands? We're just going to be cafe, cafe. Nice. Have we had cafe today?
Yes, I have.
So not that you can tell. And then I have other rhythms like cara de pato, cara de pato. Nice. And then the most important one is called café con pan. Can we say café con pan? Café con pan is exactly like what it sounds like. It's coffee with bread, because you can't have one without the other, right? And that sounds like this. Café con pan. Café con pan. Good. And Vanessa is going to give us a little bit more about café con pan.
I can't clap and do this at the same time.
I can help
But
you.
I'll try. So we're just going to all learn this pattern, very, very important traditional pattern in the tradition of San Jarocho called café con pan. Can you say café con pan one more time? All right, so we're going to invite you to either clap along. If you feel inspired, you can try it with your feet, right? But we'll start with our hands. All right, so Tanya, can you just, since I can't,
Yeah, I can.
can you clap? So I can
Café con pan.
join that. So in the tradition of San Jarocho, when someone calls una, that means last one. Last one. That's how we ended together, because she said una. Also, just so you all know, what Tanya and I did with La Guacamaya was 100% improvised. In that we were both trained in the tradition, and that as Tanya was speaking to the tradition of improvisation within Son Jarocho, Tanya has a set pattern that she plays on the jarana. I have a set bass pattern I play with my feet, which is café con pan. And between that, when I hear Tanya start singing, I know to get quiet. And then when I hear she goes into the chorus, which is Vuela, 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 I know to do this.
We're giving you so much vocab, but you're doing great.
Yeah, I know to do that, right? So the conversation, it's a very active conversation between us. We did not rehearse this before we came today. We didn't even know we were doing this song. But with the tradition that we've practiced in for so long, we know how to work together. So why don't we just try really quickly? If Tanya, can you play jarana? And we'll try clapping café con pan along with Tanya before we go into some tap dancing. Ready?
We're gonna warm up. Loosen up.
Get your hands ready.
Okay.
Get your wrists ready.
Here you go. I'm gonna do guacamaya again. Here we go.
Nice job, everyone.
Alrighty, so now we're going to be doing some tap dancing for you. Does anyone here know what tap dancing is? Yes, I hope so. Tap dance is a dance form of the United States born out of African American community that puts drumming on your feet. And one of the most basic steps is called a shuffle. Do you want to see a shuffle? You go like this. You go brush front, brush back. You can try it underneath your chair if you'd like. You just brush front, brush back, brush front, brush back. And then you can try it on the other foot. So you go front, back, back, back. And then slowly, as you get more comfortable, you can do it back. So then you can do it on the other side. Yeah. Wonderful job, everybody. Alrighty, so now we're going to perform a section of a piece called Descarga that we did just on our 10-year anniversary show last week. Feel free to clap along with us if you would like.
You guys ready? We need your help. We usually perform this with an 8-piece band. Today we have Tanya and all of you. So we need your help with the downbeat.
Can you guys stop the downbeat with me?
Don't speed up though. We gotta keep up with you. Yeah? Ready? 5, 6, 7. But just want to give you a little context of that piece, since we gave you context to La Guacamaya, right? So, sorry, out of breath. That piece was a section of the full piece that we usually do with 8 dancers and 8 musicians, but today we have 3 of us. So we did what we could. But in terms of that piece, did you hear a difference between how we do son jarocho and how our footwork with tap dance sounds? It feels a little bit different, right? Because the technique, although it's still using our feet, the technique and the vocabulary of movement is very different. If you remember, Sophia introduced us to a step called a shuffle, which uses this part of your foot to make 2 sounds. But in son jarocho, we're using the whole foot for a lot of the things, right? So just to give some context, when you saw Sophia and I dancing together, that was choreographed, that was planned. We spent time rehearsing that, running it together, right? But when you saw us dancing alone, those were improvised solos, where you do whatever you want. You do whatever you want, but you have to stay in Tanya's downbeat time, right? So we can trade shuffles, we can trade different rhythms, and go back and forth and have a conversation similar to the conversation Tanya and I had during La Guacamaya when we hadn't rehearsed it at all and just came in and did it. So, thank you guys.
Alright, let's talk about shoes. Very random segue, I agree, but it is relevant, I promise. So, looking at all of our shoes today, I see some comfy shoes, I see some cute shoes, I see some sparkly shoes over there. Choice. I got my Cortezes over here, Vanessa does as well. And then let's talk about the dancer shoes specifically. So, I mentioned earlier that in the Fandango tradition, there is a giant wooden platform and we dance on that, right? Can we all say the word tarima together? The tarima comes from an Arabic word because if you remember our world history, the Spanish were invaded by the North African Moors at one point, and so they brought Islam with them to that part of Spain. And so tarima comes from the word tarimba, which means happiness. And so our joke when we tell our students is that you can always find happiness on the tarima. And so with that in mind, when we are dancing our percussive parts on the tarima for son jarocho, if we look at the bottom of our shoes over here, yeah, it's all wood. It's wood on wood so that we can get a nice, clean percussive sound without damaging the instrument that the tarima is. And if we can look at the bottom of Sophia's shoes over here, you can see that they have metal plates. I don't know if you guys can maybe like, yeah. That way everyone in the back can see them, because I just saw some folks trying to do the longest yard stare. I'm like, you're right, you can't see that from back there. Yeah, so those metal plates are how you get like that really loud, really nice, crisp, tinny sound from these tap floors that we have here. And it's like what Vanessa was saying, the way that you place your foot for either shoe helps you get a completely different sound. So if you guys want to try a demo of like the same café con pan to hear how it sounds.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes. Most of us can hear me. It's hard to be sure sharing a mic.
Yes.
So café con pan, when I do it with just the wood on wood, that's what it sounds like, right? And you guys, yeah, you can go too fast.
I didn't doubt you for a second.
And in the tradition and technique of Sapeado Jarocho, I'm using my whole foot for café con pan, right? You can use different parts of your foot, but one of the main parts of the form is using your whole foot. Now, if Sophia does café con pan, it sounds different. It sounds different because there are metals, taps on the bottom of her shoe, but also in the tradition of tap, we don't just use our whole flat foot. Can you do a crumple? So do you see how Sophie is isolating the ball of her foot with the heel of her foot? Do one more. Can you do some running flaps in place? So Sophia isolates part of the shoe to get some nice crisp sounds, which you hear because of the metal on the bottom of the taps, right? So when we're looking out through history, like Tanya was referencing, both of these traditions come from African influence, right? In the traditions when African drums were forcibly removed from the communities, the rhythms, the traditional rhythms that they played were transferred to their feet. And in the tradition of tap dance in the United States, that was tap dance, right? In the tradition of son jarocho, when we're looking at the Gulf of Mexico, right? Son jarocho is a fusion of indigenous, African, and Spanish traditions. We get this as the rhythms that were transferred to our feet. So we're all coming from the same roots of history, but the language is a little bit different, but we can have conversations. And in La Mezcla, which means the mix, that's what we do.
So kind of like what Vanessa was saying about like all the African influences, when the Spanish and all the other colonizers brought slavery to the West, to North and South America, slaves had to get creative about how to practice their religions and their percussive patterns. So in Mexico, it was transferred to their feet. In Chile and Peru, it was transferred to these box-like instruments called, Chilena, Peruana? Peruana, yeah. It was transferred to instruments called cajones that you sit on and you play with your hands, and the quijada over here.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the quijada. I can't play and talk at the same time because I need two hands. What does this look like?
You want to see? I heard feet. What else did I hear?
What else? What? Any other ideas? Jawbone. This is a jawbone. This is a donkey jaw. If you look at it this way, these are the small teeth.
In Spanish means lower jaw. So that's
This is a donkey jaw. And so this is a traditional percussive rhythm from Afro-Peruano, Afro-Peruvian tradition that in the last few decades, we'll say, has made its way into the tradition of son jarocho. So you will often now see this in contemporary fandangos played as a form of minor percussion. And the way that you play it, you see, this is jaw and teeth, right? It's actual bone, actual teeth. So once the donkey passes naturally, we will say the teeth, the bones are cleaned out, and I have a friend who brings me these from Peru. It's with ants. They put a lot of ants with them to kind of get into between the teeth. So the teeth are in naturally. So when I hit it, that's the vibration of the teeth.
Wow. It also looks like the part of a lamb head.
Yeah.
And we used to eat lamb heads when we were little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still eat
Jawbone.
Yeah.
And so the way that we play it is by utilizing the teeth, both in its rattle, by hitting the side, and then brushing a stick along the teeth to get a little percussive pattern. You guys all look a little stunned. But this is called a what? Quijada. Can we all say quijada? And what is it? It's a jawbone, right? This is probably my favorite instrument to play. It is a little painful because you do have to hit the side of bone, right, to get noise, but it makes a very, very unique sound that you can't really get in any other instrument. So we're going to go into one more piece. Tanya's going to introduce it, and you're going to get to hear the quijada as it is adapted to the tradition of son jarocho.
I will say that there are vegan ones now. They make a lot of them too.
I have a wooden one. I do have a wooden one. Less donkeys are injured, but
It doesn't feel the same. So the last one that we're going to play and dance for you all is called La Morena. La Morena is one of Vanessa's favorite songs to dance. It's featured in one of her first piece, like her first major production that has toured everywhere, including Mexico. It's called Pachuquismo. Give it up for Vanessa and her success. So, yeah, let's just get into that one. Voces son voces de la sirena.
Tanya and Sophia one more time? They're amazing. We catch our breath. You guys learned a lot of vocabulary today. What words do we remember? Son jarocho. Café con pan. Huelas. What else? Quijada. What was the step Sophia taught everyone? Shuffle. Nice. You guys are all ready to join the company. As we wrap up, are there any questions? Anything you saw? Yes.
What do you call that jawbone thing again?
Quijada.
Where do you get one? I want one.
I get mine from Peru. I have